Hey, my name is Renato Ruiz. I am currently a student enrolled in English Certificate 1, and I'm making this video for those upcoming students that are looking to take this class, not specifically the subject, but with the teacher, Bunny Garcia, which I personally think is a good teacher, although we didn't really talk or get that kind of like personal bond. Anyways, um, I want to state that for the future, I want to be an entrepreneur, study business and engineering. I say this because this is gonna come later on in when I'm explaining how this class goes overall. Anyways, I first want to talk about how my understanding of the writing process has evolved. I want to do this mentioning the essay which we did. If you were like me before this class, I didn't really like drafting. I truly ignored it, and I feel like it was just more work than what it had to be done. But as I took this class, I kind of found out that drafting is actually more important. It's not only good, but it actually lets you brainstorm and process your ideas differently. I find drafting extremely helpful, and I will try to do it more. So what we did for the drafting here is we kind of wrote what we had to do right over here. We had to list the audience, the intro, and then kind of write kind of like what we were going to mention the body, and find our conclusion. It didn't have to be that long. So as you can see, it's kind of a different drafting is what the conventional one is, where it says that you have to write like a whole essay. Miss Bonnie here just told us to write kind of like the gist, and this is actually going to turn out to be more helpful in the future for me. Not only my academic research, because I mean I am going to go for 2 degrees, and there's going to be a lot of reading and writing. But as a future business owner, I know how important it is to be able to create good business plans to attract buyers and angel investors, and also to write memos. So this was extremely helpful. This drafting process that was shown. Another important part about the understanding of the writing process is the interrogation of sources and how it affects your writing. Before the class, I kind of thought that any type of source was good enough for the paper, and it didn't really matter as long as you had your point or I had or wanted to put your point across. It was all good. But as I took this class, I kind of realized that each source serves you wisely, and it kind of like shifts the way you write and think about your ideas. Because now not only do you have to include the audience or the sources, but you kind of like argue with them, and that really helps the overall writing. And this is obviously good because back in the day I would make a fool of myself, but I know that in the future this won't happen. And also writing will become easier when it comes to like um, putting more ideas into my writing. And another thing that is really important about the writing process is kind of like understanding your audience and kind of like writing towards it. Um, in the past, I used to write for the teacher, not really with the point or an audience. Um, and as you can see here, this is where we had to write for the audience. It was kind of like the gist and outline, but it really made an impact when it came to the overall final project. Because not only did it let me kind of like include more information, but also let me put in my own ideas. So you kind of like start writing in a way where it's like you see yourself as the authority over the sources, and it's not just, oh, here's what they said, and I'm just here to state what they said. No, it's more like this is what they said, and now let me tell you what I think about it. So this is definitely really important, especially because as an engineer, you have to do a lot of writing, you have to include a lot of numbers. You kind of like tell what the numbers mean, and so that's where you have to kind of put in your own thought into it. I would like to talk about the understanding of the research process and how this class helped me evolve and go through it a little bit differently. At first, I'll talk about the theory map, which is a little thing that we did where we kind of like gathered different perspectives, not perspectives that necessarily talked or helped your your topic or your view, but you had to gather different sources that kind of contradict, and then this would enable you to come up with a more construct conclusion or hypothesis about the overall idea of the writing. And I found that the topic of the essay is really important, because in the past I told you that any topic that I felt comfortable with was the best way to start a research paper, or go through the process. But now that I'm taking a class, I see that it's better to get yourself a topic that kind of has a lot to that people have a lot to talk about. What I mean by this is that we can talk about, let's say, a different galaxy that is out there that not a lot of people know about, or we as scientists don't know about. And to be fairly honest, we're not going to say much about it because there's not a lot of information in it. But we can talk about, let's say, a planet here where we kind of like dissect the whole system and the way the planet works, and there's so much to talk about. And this is kind of like what we did with my own topic, which was a hypercolor extents one way of thinking. And while doing this, everything got easier as I did this process. And in the future, the process will be better as my ignorance will stop me from choosing a topic that may sound interesting but has little to nothing to talk about. This will benefit me as I will be able to develop market analysis with reliable sources, and the process of making them will also become easier due to the research process being faster, which is something that I gather through this class. Also, another important thing about the writing process is the sources that you pick. Before, I used to think that any resource was good, and this kind of like made me stumble upon my own ideas because I didn't really have anything to talk about. But while taking this class, I found that the more critiques I had for a source, the easier it was to like get a point across or talk about the flaws in research, and this kind of like gave me my own voice in writing. And this was especially true with these because I didn't really know much about the way Bucali worked with the process of inquiry, and then reading through all these sources and doing a personal interview kind of like helped me critique my audience and make the whole process easier and faster, and kind of just like bring my own ideas into it. And something that I found that also made the process a lot easier was the questions that you came up with them for yourself. Before, I thought they were just like a hindrance to what you had to do. You kind of already had the answer, so I felt like you kind of already had the answer, but you just had to um, make the questions that fit your answer. But as I'm taking the class, I realized that these questions kind of like keep the writing in flow, and it's not just about getting the solution and then coming up with the question. It's more about coming up with the question and then going for the solution. And it's something that I figured out during this process of the theory map. And I figured that in the future, my questions will be a lot better, and this will stop me from stumbling upon myself. And the easier it is to develop questions that critique my work or progress, the easier it will be to develop or enhance or innovate science on my own craft. So this is especially important for engineers and business owners, as they have to come up with innovative ways to to create products. And if you kind of like start critiquing yourself, you're gonna begin to make better products that fit what people want. And it's not just about, oh, I think it's good. It's more of like, okay, if this is selling for this much, will people buy it? And then you kind of have to adjust your process after that. And this is kind of like how it works with the theory map and the whole process of the research process. And it just makes a easier flow. I want to talk about I want to talk about how the audience affects the writing and how it makes it different to when you write without a purpose. So I want to get into the essay of this because I found out that when you're writing an essay, although I used to think that it was a boring and dull way of expressing your ideas, it's actually really important instrument in which you can impact your audience. Because although it is it is a more formal document, it's also a stronger one. And when you're kind of like impacting or looking to get a change on someone, it's easier to get the change from someone who is sophisticated and understands what a change is, instead of like, I don't know, giving a random example and or trying to like convince someone who's I would say is less educated and more ignorant due to the fact that he or she is more less educated. And but I know I understand that it's a strong document with the ability to impact more people. And in my for my future, I'll take it as more serious, and I understand the importance of writing with them. Also, I feel like it will be easier to read them in the long run for me. And since the world is currently coming with new things, it is making more essays to kind of like explain what's going on around the world, and to kind of like get to be able to understand these things is exceptionally good, in especially when it comes to inquiring more information. And I want to kind of give the example of the meme we made. In class, we made a meme which kind of like gave our sources perspectives and kind of like explain it. And I figured that I used to think that memes were kind of like for dumb people and they weren't really that important. But I realized that the meme is actually more powerful than what I previously thought it was, because it can actually reach a wider audience, and it holds the impact in a less serious way. And I would compare this to, like, I guess, comedy, where it's like it's a different form of entertainment, but it's not less than other types of entertainment. It's just unique in its own way, and in fact, it can be stronger if used adequately. Or yeah, and I wanted to bring. I know it's not part of the of what we did, but what Tesla did here, if they made a video about what the Model is featuring the self-driving car, and they kind of like put this cop trying to put a ticket on the car, but the car with the self-driveless kind of like avoided the cop. And although it's not necessarily a straight up meme, it is a form of meme, and it really worked. As you can see here, it it got 350k likes and 13 dislikes, and it reached 13 million viewers. That's kind of like what I learned to do with the meme here. And it's something that can be incorporated into market strategies in the future for businesses, and it's definitely worked for different companies, and something that I would look to master with time. Also, I learned about the way that podcasts can be used to understand your audience and the type of writing that is used for it. Before, I'm not gonna lie, I used to love podcasts, so this was probably my